Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Putin names conditions for talks with Zelensky. Stein. I thought Putin doesn't want to talk with anybody. He doesn't want peace. That's the first topic. And the second one, Mr. Medvedev, the former president of the Russian Federation, smacks Times. All right, the Times. Why? Because the Times are imbeciles. And as always, it seems like the Russians are using more than the baboons here. And he just turns the table towards the Times, telling, okay, you say this is okay, then that means it would be okay for me to strike your offices. So Medvedev, in a way, threatens the Times with a, military strike, with a missile or two. All right, let's start with Putin's conditions. This comes from Russia Today. This is during his annual Q&A session. This is from the 19th of December 2024. Putin names conditions for talks with Zelensky. Stein. Any bilateral agreements would have to be signed with Ukraine's legitimate authorities. The Russian president has stressed. Oh, so Stein is not one? Moscow is prepared to begin negotiations with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, provided he is legitimized through another presidential election, Russian President Vladimir Putin has said. So that means hold some elections over there, and then if you win, we're going to talk to you. Until then, F off. Speaking at his annual end-of-year press conference on Thursday, Putin stressed that any future deals between Russia and Ukraine would have to be signed by legitimate authorities in Kiev, which currently means the Ukrainian parliament, the Rada, according to the president. Putin explained that under the Ukrainian constitution there is no mechanism for extending the presidential term during martial law, and that only the Rada has the authority to prolong its term without holding elections during wartime. This is Putin's interpretation, all right? He noted that given the president of Ukraine is responsible for appointing the heads of ministries, security services, and other regional and government bodies, the fact that Zelensky's term ran out earlier this year effectively means that all of these agencies' heads are illegitimate. Nevertheless, Putin stated that Moscow remains open to talks with Kiev without any preconditions, except, I like that, I will not cheat on you unless, okay, what's going on here? Except those already agreed upon in Istanbul 2022. He also said that such talks would have to respect the realities on the ground that have developed since that time. That means Crimea ours, Donbass ours, and so on. As for who Russia would be willing to negotiate with, Putin stated that as long as they obtain legitimacy through a public vote, Moscow will talk to anyone, even Volodymyr Zelensky, and I'm quoting. Now, if Ukraine truly wants to go down the path of peaceful resolution, it can do so by organizing it inside the country however they want. But we can only sign agreements with those who are legitimate. And the only ones who are now legitimate are the Rada and the Rada chairman. I have a question though. Maybe I don't understand maybe. When the government was overthrown, legitimate government of Viktor Yanukovych in 2014, there was a legitimate government, was overthrown by armed people with guns and all that, with the support of outside interest. Now those were traitors. Because I guarantee you, if someone will try to do that in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, an armed, not an insurrection like January 6th. I'm not talking about that garbage. No. I'm talking about, like a real insurrection with the help, let's say, of China or Russia. And then it succeeds. Do you think these guys will be seen, as long as they don't write the history, do you think they will be seen as legitimate? No, because they got the power through an illegitimate means. And then that means since then, everything that follows is illegitimate. You can hold elections after that. Remember, they held elections without the Donbass and the Crimean Peninsula. So whomever voted the new Poroshenko government in office, they were not legitimate actually, because the Donbass did not vote, Crimea did not vote, the elections were conducted and organized by the guys who overthrew a legitimate government. So all that has to go back to Yanukovych. So the same as kings and queens. Remember in the past? If I come and I'm the king, and somehow one of my brothers takes care of me, and then he is becoming the king illegitimately, right? Or who knows, a cousin, or let's say maybe an aunt, or maybe, I know, a female cousin, or she becomes the queen. Through those means, there's starting there, her offspring, whomever is going to come after, their children are still illegitimate because they usurped my legal position as the king. So everything that comes after me, it's illegitimate. It has to be brought to, I don't know, some of my offspring. So this is my point with this. Next one. The Russians will fulfill their 4 reasons why they entered Ukraine. I know, unprovoked and and there is no NATO in, denazification. The reality is this is our country right now. No NATO, as I said, demilitarization of Ukraine, which is we're gonna protect you guys from everybody else, and that will be it. Ukraine will be a non-country. We'll have a name, but will be controlled by the Russians if the Russians win. And so far it's going that way. Let's see what Medvedev tells the Times, because the Times are baboons, but because they target a certain kind of segment, they target a certain kind of segment. The segment is okay. So let's go and see. Russia Today. Medvedev warns the Times over response to Russian general's murder. The British Daily has described Igor Kirillov's assassination as, and I'm quoting, a legitimate act of defense by Ukraine. All right, that means why? And they make the point. The Times make the point that the Russians are at war with Kiev, right? With Ukraine are the aggressors. Therefore, these guys is legitimate to hit them in that manner. And Medvedev says, okay, if that is legitimate, then you are in a country that is at war with us that we did not declare. So you are at war with us, therefore we can easily do the same thing to you. And the Times are like, my pussy hurts. Where is my soybean latte? And my safe space? And my blankie? Off. All right, let's see what this guy says. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev on Wednesday slammed British daily The Times for justifying the assassination of Kirillov, who headed Russia's radiological, chemical and biological defense forces. Medvedev criticized the editors as lousy jackals, end quote, who are part of a hybrid war against Russia. In an article on Tuesday, the UK outlet claimed that its sources with Ukraine's security service admitted responsibility for the general's assassination. It went on to describe the incident as, quote-unquote, a legitimate act of defense by a threatened nation. And I'm quoting, the assassination is a discriminate strike against an aggressor, the Times wrote. So this is their statement, without thinking one step ahead. The paper, why? Because the targeted population is as such. The targeted, it doesn't mean that people who read the Times are as such. The paper further characterized Kirillov's killing as an eminently defensible act, and that should be seen as a, and I'm quoting, a warning and deterrent to other plenipotentiaries. Russian President Vladimir Putin. That means could happen to you. Not with Trump or anybody, no. They already tried it on him. All right, so here it is, and I'm quoting, what's his name, Medvedev. It's impossible to ignore the editorial published in the Times, where the bastards called the terrorist attack on Igor Kirillov and his assistant a legitimate act of defense. End quote. Medvedev, who currently serves as deputy head of the Russian Security Council, said in a Telegram post. He stated that according to the logic employed by these imbeciles, the Times, its entire management could now be considered, quote-unquote, legitimate military targets for Russia, along with all Western decision makers. And I'm quoting, all NATO decision makers from countries that provided military assistance to Bandera, Ukraine, are participating in a hybrid or conventional war against Russia. All these individuals can and should be considered legitimate targets, military targets for the Russian state. Medvedev said, adding that the people, and I'm quoting, who committed crimes against Russia always have accomplices, including in the media. And I'm quoting, and they too are now legitimate military targets. These may include the lousy jackals from the Times who cowardly hid behind an editorial. So be careful. After all, a lot can happen in London, he warned. Do you think Medvedev his logic is workable or not? Functional? Think about it. These guys in the West, this is what bothers me. One of the main things. These guys, supposedly the intelligentsia, the elites, the guys in charge of us, I can see through them. They are mediocre at best. And I look at the people that we are required to hate. Why? Because they say these lousy people, the lousy jackals, say so. We're supposed to hate them. Watching, let's say, Sergei Lavrov in an interview or his speeches or whatever his statements is making, I'm thinking, this is an adult. This is an adult. And then I watch, let's say, Dr. Jai Shankar of India. And I'm thinking, right here, this is the way. And then I watch Wang Yi of China. These are the bad people, remember. And I'm like, oh my God, look at it. Or Ahmadinejad of Iran. Or Sharif, I can't remember his name. During Ahmadinejad, he was the foreign minister of Iran. Again, I watch those guys talk and I'm like, something is wrong. These guys versus Annalena Baerbock of Germany, Liz Truss of Great Britain, Blinkenstein, and not only, I can go on and on, Starmer, Boris Johnson, Biden. Macron is smart, but he's a weasel, ballless, click, click. And I'm looking at these guys who are supposedly in our team. I want Lindsey Graham, if you want here. I look at this Jack, whatever his name, Sullivan. I look at this, how do you call them? Advisors, senior advisors. And I'm like, these are in our team. I want those guys in our team. But the same with the Times. I look at the Times. I look at, let's say, Zakharova. And when I hear her speak, I look at her. And I look, let's say, at the spokesperson, what's her name, for the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, the French, right? Zero. I know she's the spokesperson or spokeswoman, my bad, all right? Since she has a, right, grab her by the, how is that saying, the Trump. Anyway, so she's over there talking like that, and I hear these guys here, and I'm like, look at these guys. And the Times use this logic. Who did that? For me, that should be a teenager who wrote that in the Times magazine, whatever it is, a teenager. I remember when I was a child, obviously, and I looked at the adults, and certain things, I didn't understand certain things, obviously. But I looked the way they be. The adults I was around. Maybe I should put that first. The adults I was around. And I saw a debate, a conversation, how you make a point, how you support your allegations and whatever thesis you made. And I'm saying, that's an adult. And when I see these guys here, Annalena Baerbock, or these guys, these are not adults. When I was looking up at my adults, I saw Annalena Baerbock at my level of, 12-year-old, 10-year-old, the one that I was chasing to, and so on. My bad, but hey, what can you do? All right. But this is it. I look at these people and they are like my fellow teenage in the way they talk, the way they behave, the way they put the problem forth and they discuss it. So, and Medvedev says, you guys are just baboons. And not jackals. These are just, I won't call them jackals because they are cowards. So should Russia attack London? No, they didn't. Not because some of they or you may say, they wouldn't dare. You have 2 destroyers operational. 2. I made a video 2 days ago. Not only that, Great Britain is an island. Remember, small, or islands, little islands over there, small. A tsunami can always wash up and clean the stables as Hercules did. Remember how he cleaned the stables in one night? He just diverted a river and he cleaned the stables of the horses and so on. So the same, these guys can, 1 or 2 nuclear, they don't have to hit London, they hit next to it, or Great Britain next to. Pam, a little tsunami, and then it was going to be clean house over there. They start over, bringing people from, Sub-Saharan Africa to make sure that they will repopulate Great Britain with the same kind of people that will create the same kind of situation over there. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.